This is the Build Wealth Canada podcast, episode number 17.
Welcome to the Build Wealth Canada podcast, where it's all about becoming debt-free, accelerating your wealth, and taking control of your money. Now, here's your host, Cornell Schreiber.
Hey, it's Cornell and welcome to the Build Wealth Canada show. Today we have arguably the number one expert in Canada when it comes to personal finance for students. Whether it's about saving money as a student, stretching what you do have as a student, and setting yourself up for success with your post-secondary education. Now, my guest, Kyle Prevost, is not only a teacher, but has also been featured in the Financial Post, the Globe and Mail, the Toronto Star, MoneySense Magazine, and many, many more. He's also the co-author of the book, More Money for Beer and Textbooks, where he teaches students about to enter post-secondary education and those already there, how to make the right decisions so that you can have a successful career after graduating, as well as how to make your dollars stretch further while you're in school and how you can set yourself up for financial success. And you can actually win a copy of Kyle's book by going to the show notes over at buildwealthcanada.ca/17. So go there right now to enter the giveaway. It's totally free. And that link again is buildwealthcanada.ca/17. One final thing worth mentioning is that in the interview, Kyle and I talk about entrepreneurship and how that can be a great option while you are in high school or post-secondary education, as it can really set you apart from your peers when you're applying for co-op jobs and when you're applying for jobs after graduation. Not to mention, it'll earn you extra money on the side and give you the type of experience where someone competing with you for a future job down the road doesn't even really stand a chance. Now, to help you with this, I'm giving you access to my totally free step-by-step video guide on how you can start your own business on the side here in Canada, which is actually really easy, by the way. And the guide also shows you how to build your very first website so that your business can be up and running in no time. Like I said, it's totally free, and you can check out the full video guide over at buildwealthcanada.ca/business. And now, let's get into the interview. All right, hey Kyle, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Cornell.
So what I thought we could do is maybe start by addressing some questions for someone that is maybe graduating high school or is already in university or college. And then I thought we could take it over and move to some questions for those listeners who have already graduated. And then we can cover some subjects like how to deal with student debt and things of that nature. Does that sound good?
All right, let's tackle the whole gamut today.
Awesome. All right, so to start us off, is post-secondary education even worth it, especially when you consider how much it's been increasing year over year?
Okay, and the answer is sometimes for some people. And I know that's a total cop-out answer. If you want the detailed answer with all the good numbers and stats and backup, just Google my name in the National Post, and you'll see I wrote an article about a month ago talking about this very thing, looking at the return on investment of a university or a college education. And the truth is, and not a lot of universities want to tell you this, the truth is that more and more people, it is not worth it. It is not worth it to go to university for 3 to 5 years and pay a lot of money, especially if you're traveling to go to school. If you have to travel to another city or an urban center, if you're in a rural area, it is likely not worth it for many different degrees and many different paths of study. And not a lot of people want to tell you that, but it's the truth. And if you look at the job market, in your prospective field and sort of the credentials you need for that, and you find that you do have to go to university, it can work. No one's telling you don't go to be an engineer, don't go to be anything in sort of the medical sciences field. People used to say lawyer, but even lawyer now is getting to be a semi-saturated field. Architects, I get people emailing me on my websites all the time. I'm an architect working 3 days a week or working part-time. I need some help budgeting because I'm essentially super overqualified for the drawing job that I'm doing. And so architect, even though your grandma will have fun bragging about you at her card club or whatever, it's not a guarantee to riches or even a high middle class job like it used to be. Mm-hmm. So essentially what you have to ask is, what do you want out of college or university? If you have the money or if you're fortunate enough to have sort of parents or grandparents or an aunt or uncle that is able to help you out financially and you just want to go for the experience, by all means, go for the experience. University is a fantastic time. I had a great several years there. I met a lot of great people. I'm not saying that it isn't a great experience, and I'm not saying that you should totally judge the experience by the dollars and cents that you earn on your paycheck when you leave. But what I am saying is that if you don't have that money and you have to go into debt, and you're not even sure what you want to do with that university education, then you might want to reevaluate. And if you just want to learn, I take it right from my boy Matt Damon, if you've ever saw Good Will Hunting, that a library pass is only a few bucks, and you have access to the same reading list I did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's really interesting, and it kind of goes against that whole sort of traditional sort of mindset that some people have, where you should just go by default and kind of not even think about it because you need one to get a job, and you can't get a job anywhere without one, and that kind of thing. So for sure, that's so critical to actually have a plan as well, right? And so that you've got something to aim for, and then okay, so I should be looking to get these jobs and get this experience while I'm in university or college so that I can get a job once I'm out. So kind of really taking it seriously and really planning it out strategically, which is what I did, and that worked out really well for me. And that's something I would recommend to everyone as well, because I remember seeing way too many peers my age when I was getting into university who just kind of said, well, I'm not really sure, so I'm just going to take this general arts thing here, and that's it, and then kind of hope for the best sort of deal, right? And the problem is that there are going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of people in your university in that boat when you graduate, and there's going to be thousands across the country in that boat when you graduate as well. So if you're just sort of coasting and you're not sure and you're not strategically playing it, I mean, you're good luck competing, good luck standing out in front of them when you're sitting next to one, at a job interview, for example. So.
Yeah, and here's the problem with what the statistics that the universities are putting out there, because here's the stats they love to throw, and it's hilarious because the marketing job that universities do would get absolutely destroyed in a case study in their own statistics 101 courses, because here's the fallacy they promote. They say if you have people with a bachelor's degree earn X number of dollars more than people who don't, and they present it as a direct causation factor, right, when in fact it is not necessarily a causation factor at all. It's merely a side effect of the filter of people who generally choose to go to university. The only relevant comparison for those statistics would be if they could say, here's a group of people, our test group or control group, who could have went to university and succeeded, who had all the skills needed to do that, the skills that would have allowed them to achieve a bachelor degree, and they don't go to university. They start their own businesses, they start climbing the chain somewhere, doing something else, and then we compare it to compare and group people in sort of with the people who would have succeeded in university with the people that sort of dropped out of high school or just generally don't have good work ethic, or maybe don't have a lot of the social assets that correlate with success in life. That's an unfair comparison. And furthermore, by showing all the people you're only taking out of your own stat pool, the people that graduated with the degree, you're cutting out all your sort of minimum level people that dropped out. And so many people do. Our dropout rates in first year are like 30% at most Canadian institutions. So it's just this brilliant example of spin marketing that I find it really shameful, to be honest, Cornell.
Yeah, and I do remember learning that in second year stats about the whole causation and to not jump to those conclusions where, okay, well, if this is this way, then it must be true. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that the graduation, the degree actually causes that that higher salary, for example, right? It can really depend. So yeah, actually leading to my next question, which is kind of at least my answer to it is related to that. Can you share sort of a game-changing tip for someone that is in high school or university that can really set them apart and kind of put them on the right path in terms of having a successful career?
I think being elite, or at least appearing to be elite. So that means scholarships, that means applying for awards. There's all kinds of scholarships and awards out there that never get applied for. Perhaps one or two people apply for them. You can get these awards with, not a superstar GPA, just a pretty good GPA, and doing some, taking part in some clubs or doing some extracurricular, just being a good person and being engaged and active. And those things look great. Those are nice little filter tools that HR people love, and you won't go in debt. I was not a superb student. I did pretty well, but there were certainly several percentile points behind or between me and most people that would consider themselves elite students. And yet I received over $15,000 in scholarship help as I was going through university. I have several students that graduate out of high school with between $25,000 and $75,000 in scholarships before they even left their high school, their tiny rural high school. It's just a matter of seeking it out. And then there's this weird snowball effect with awards and scholarships. And it's if you can put one or two down, now you have this social proof or this authenticity that these overworked HR people or the people that are like trying to quickly skim through and give you an award, if they can see you've won other awards, they're like, oh, this person's done the work for me now. I can simply award them, and clearly I'm choosing a quality candidate because look at all the rest of these awards. And that's sort of just how you end up stockpiling these credentials that are indicators of something, if not necessarily IQ points.
That is a really, really good idea. So basically, as soon as you win one, you would basically make sure that you include the fact that you did win one, on all subsequent bursaries or scholarships that you apply to, and basically kind of as proof that you are sort of worth their time, that you are that you're worthy basically of receiving it. That's a really, really good idea. Yeah.
If you've ever read the books Nudge or Thinking Fast and Slow, essentially you're just tapping into this idea of authority and social proof and people are lazy and they're going to look for shortcuts, and you'll always put yourself on the short list once you start that snowball process.
That's a great idea. I'm sure, especially if it's from someone that maybe a brand or a company that they recognize, right? And oh wow, this is this big institution, and they clearly know their stuff, and they were willing to give this person a scholarship. I should really consider it. And then the thing is too, is they're kind of covering their own butts as well, right? Because if someone's like, well, why did you pick this person? Oh, well, here's 5 reasons. Oh, and also, this big company also gave him a scholarship. Like, obviously this is someone that we should really be looking at, right? So it kind of helps them from that perspective as well. And,
exactly.
Yeah, and I find too, it helps having that on your resume as well. I remember I always, all the scholarships I got, I put those on my resume when I was applying for co-op jobs, and then for jobs after university as well. And once again, it really kind of helps set you apart from all the other students that took the exact same program that you did in university or college. So it's definitely a good investment on your time. And actually, we had a previous guest on the show as well who highly recommended that too. And he actually calculated, kind of what are you making per hour, even if you win just a very small percentage of the ones you apply to. And it's an absolutely ridiculous amount, way more than you would be getting paid if you're at, working at a student pub or a student bookstore or something like that. You just get, the payoff can be huge. All right, so we just had a little interruption here. There's a storm where Kyle is, and so we got disconnected, and now we are back. So we'll try to do a smooth transition. But basically where we left off is, so Kyle shared his sort of game-changing tip that can really set you apart when you're going to university or college, and that was on the subject of scholarships. And I would say that if I had to give one myself, one that worked out really well for me was to really strongly consider the co-op option for when you're applying to university. Sometimes you have to apply it after the first year. Sometimes you apply it for it right away. And this can really, really be a huge, huge game changer. So when you think about it, when you graduate, you are going to be graduating with hundreds or thousands of other students within your program, and definitely thousands and thousands of students across Canada in similar programs. So, if you're applying for some amazing, amazing job, chances are, you're going to be competing against people from all across Canada for that particular job that you want, and you need to set yourself apart somehow. So, through co-op, that's just huge because, for example, in my instance, I went to Laurier for the business program there, and so I had 3 co-op terms, and I actually had 4 because I kind of got them to extend one, but basically 3 co-op terms. So you're working at 3 companies that are in your field, and you're getting actual experience, and you're building connections with individuals in that particular industry. So when you graduate, you could very well have job offers from all of those companies, or at least some of them. And even if you don't get job offers from them, or maybe you don't want to work there at any of those places, well, still, when you're sitting next to those, applying for a job that thousands of other recent graduates are applying to, well, now you can, on your resume, instead of saying, well, I was a camp counselor over the summer during the school break, instead of that, you can say, well, I worked at your competitor, I worked out these 2 other companies. It's not even even a contest. It's not even fair to the students that weren't in the program. So definitely, really, really strongly consider that. And if you don't get into the co-op program, or if your school doesn't have one, then still really try to get a job over the summer in kind of an internship, so that you can get that relevant experience. So I mean, that to me, that made getting a job after university ridiculously easy. I mean, I started to work really hard to get it, a lot of time on the resume and all that, but it was a complete game changer, and some people don't even consider it. So if I had one thing, I would say definitely consider a co-op program for sure.
I'm hoping we see more and more of those, Cornell, where we're seeing colleges working with universities to promote a good amount of background, soft skill development in university, but also a little bit harder skills, sort of that are very focused on a job need in the market.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, like it's really something that, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I mean, because you're preparing for midterms. Like I remember I'm preparing for a calculus midterm while tailoring my resume for a job, while also preparing for 3 interviews I have the next day for the next co-op placement. So it was really, really tough. I mean, you're having a lot of coffee at that point, but I mean, but the payoff is huge, right? And I mean, if you really want to get up there and you really want a job that's relevant to your field, I mean, this is the kind of stuff you just have to kind of suck it up and do it, I would say. Yeah. So anyways, that's my 2 cents. I just wish, more people considered it because it's sad when they don't, and then they have trouble getting a job related to their field.
I'm a huge fan of co-op programs. We've written about them on our site many times.
Awesome. All right. So that's enough of me. Let's get back to Kyle here. So let's talk about this college versus university debate. So when I was in school, college was perceived by some people my age to be sort of a second class kind of post-secondary thing, right? Not that it's true, it was just a perception that some people had. For instance, some of the college programs were a lot easier to get into than some of these, elite university level programs, right? And so that's kind of where these perceptions, I think, came from. But then the reality is that now we're seeing college graduates who actually earn more money and sometimes have better jobs than some university graduates. For example, someone that goes into a college and takes part in a high in-demand apprenticeship, let's say like a trade, right? They're doing apprenticeships throughout their program. They've pretty much got a well-paying job secured right after graduating. I mean, they're basically set. And then you compare that to some people that maybe just took a general arts degree, they didn't do co-op, they didn't have any related work experience, and now they're either unemployed, some of them, and some of them are employed, but they're having a really tough tough time finding a job in their actual field. I mean, these are sort of the realities. So Kyle, can you talk a little bit about that and what your experience has been with that?
Yeah, I would say it's not just some college graduates that are out earning university graduates. I would say it's many that are out earning, especially if you look at specific fields and you compare like fine arts or just general arts degrees to a lot of the different focused fields in everything from natural resource extraction to information and technology, any trades-based stuff. Your college certificates are just a way better return on investment for both your time and money in a lot of cases. And I think the weird stigma that you described is unfortunately my profession's fault. It's teachers' faults. And I don't think we set out to do this, but here's the thing. Every person or every teacher and principal working in schools today had the exact same post-secondary path to success. And it is a success because they enjoy upper middle class jobs. As much as teachers want to play the poor card every once in a while, we make substantially more than the average Canadian does. And we did that through taking 2 university degrees in most cases. In some cases, 1 university degree. But the bottom line is very, very few of us have ever had a personal interaction with the college or any other type of certification background. We all went through university. We've all experienced success. So what are we naturally going to recommend? What are our biases going to be towards? Sort of where does our vanity take us when we talk to students about college versus university? And the answer, of course, is we recommend university in far, far more cases than we should. And then if we're recommending that and parents are recommending that because their teachers recommended it to them, you get this awkward sort of market inefficiency that we've created where you've got colleges that are quite responsive to the job market and are creating programs that in many times already have employers on the back end. I'll give you one example real quick. I walked into my staff room a couple years ago and opened up a book from Red River College, and it was a brilliant book that had charted the outcomes of all their graduates over the last 5 years from every single program that they offered, which is something a university would never put together. And this one job, I quickly was scanning through graphs, had 100% employment rate. Every single kid from this program, student, had had been employed within their field, and they were earning an average of $85,000 a year. and I thought, well, what is this? Is it like, solar engineering or something? No, it was actually railway conductor. I had never considered that out of high school. The job is not for everyone. You have to live in some rural places sometimes. You have a very sort of odd schedule, but there's a lot of Canadians out there that I think if you told them, look, you take this 8-month, I believe it was 6 or 8 months, the course. You take this 6 or 8 month course and you're guaranteed $85,000 a year. I think there's a lot of Canadians that would jump on that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a really, really good story. That's a good example. Yeah, that's neat. So yeah, also when I was in high school too, I remember a giant percent, speaking of the whole teacher kind of subject as well, when I was in high school, a really big percentage of the graduating class actually wanted to be teachers. And I remember some of the people that I spoke to, some of the my friends and just acquaintances, they were like, well, I don't really know what I want to do with my life. I don't know what I want to do with my career. So I'm just going to go be a teacher. I'm just going to go do that. And so that was kind of like their default sort of fallback thing, and that is, and that's so dangerous for a few reasons. I mean, the one is that they're now competing with people who wanted to be teachers from the very beginning. So like I have some friends that are teachers now, and they have been just doing everything right in order to actually break through and be teachers. I mean, they were volunteering at different schools, they were building connections right from the get-go. I mean, so you're competing against people like that, who have been going at this forever. So good luck getting a position. And also because so many people have this sort of this fallback, then what we have now too is I don't know about where you are right now, Kyle, but I know in Ontario there is a huge oversupply of people that want to be teachers, and there just aren't enough teaching jobs to go around. And so like I was at No Frills the other day. I'm shopping, and there was a girl who was a cashier now, and she was, she had all the necessary post-secondary education to be a teacher, and she was working as a cashier at No Frills, despite having all these credentials, right? And she was complaining that there's just no teaching jobs available for her, right? So, I mean, that's a pretty rough spot to be in, especially, if you went into all sorts of debt to get those degrees, and now you can't find a teaching job. So you're a teacher yourself. Can you speak a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think in most places in Canada, especially if you live in one of Canada's big urban markets, the situation's even more dire than you paint, Cornell. Living in a rural area, near Brandon, Manitoba is sort of my closest city, and I use that term loosely because someone from Toronto might not consider Brandon a city. The Keg restaurant, obviously a well-known name. It's sort of the premier place to get a serving job. We know serving jobs can be somewhat lucrative in terms of cash money in your pocket. Over half the staff there, over half of the serving staff either have a Bachelor of Education degree or are in their final year of a Bachelor of Education degree, and that's their second degree. They all, in Manitoba, you have to take a first degree, and then it's an after degree program, your Bachelor of Education. So over half the ladies predominantly serving already have, and they're trying to get a foot in the door with a term position or a supply teaching position or a 0.3 position. It's rough. I think, to be honest, today, if you wanted to be a teacher, you have to put into your life plan, you're looking at it, I would say, a minimum of 5 years of probably teaching in a very rural environment, a northern environment. Perhaps if you want to teach overseas, I think that's a fantastic option that a lot of people are pursuing. So if you want to do that, those are great options. But if you want to teach in an urban area, I think you may want to pursue something else. The other thing, just to talk to your point, it drives me crazy when I meet people who are like, yeah, well, teaching was my fallback plan when dentistry fell through, or I tried to be a professional author, but that didn't work. So now I'm teaching English, and it's like, no, you're gonna hate it. Your students are gonna hate it. You don't teach because you're a subject area expert. That's a great thing to be, and you should be that, but it shouldn't be the driving force behind why you got into a classroom. Maybe at some private schools you might experience some degree of success, but it's not going to go well for you in the vast majority of educational environments I've been in. Teaching biology and chemistry when you thought you were going to be a dentist, it's not going to be the type of clientele you think it is.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. Yeah, so for sure, I think we'd both highly encourage students to basically not use teaching as some sort of a fallback plan. And then you know what? Not even just for teaching, but for any career. I mean, if you have a few options that, okay, maybe I want to be a doctor or something else, or I don't know, just if you have different options, maybe look into that a little bit more to see, well, what's it going to cost? What are the job prospects like in that actual industry? Am I actually going to be able to get a job? And what's involved, right? Because so many people that I've talked to, they who did this sort of teacher backup plan or just defaulted to being a teacher because they didn't know what to do, they didn't really do any research. They didn't go talk to teachers and find out, well, are you guys even hiring? Is anyone hiring here? Yeah. Why is no one hiring? Right? I mean, it would have been a 10-minute conversation with like your teacher probably or whoever, right? Someone that and they would have told you right away that, listen, like if you really want to get in this, fine, but just realize you're going to have to work your tail off to somehow differentiate yourself from the thousands of other people that want to be teachers. So at least then you know what you're getting into, right? And I think if it's your fallback plan, and then you're going to say, well, you know what, this probably isn't a good fallback plan because this takes way too much work to be a fallback plan, right? So no, for sure, no. Thanks for sharing your insights, especially since you are a teacher. Well, I hope you enjoyed part 1 of the interview with Kyle. Remember, you can enter the giveaway for free to win a copy of Kyle's book by going to buildwealthcanada.ca/17. So just the number 17. Also, if having a business on the side is something that you'd like to look into, you can get the complete step-by-step video guide completely free by going to buildwealthcanada.ca/business. So check that out, and I'll see you over in part 2 of the interview.
Thanks for listening to the Build Wealth Canada podcast at www.buildwealthcanada.ca.